is. I'm an early childhood educator for 5 years already, and I'm currently based in Singapore. So I've been handling children from 18 months to 9 years of age, and today our topic will be about teaching in a diverse society. So this is actually one of my first topics with Atlantic International University, but today we will be expanding it a little bit more. So let's move on. Come along with me. So what's on our plate today would be about, well, to start off, we're going to review what diversity is, including what rainbow children are, if you are familiar with them. I will also be giving you some tips on how to get help, and we'll be showing you a sample weekly lesson plan, including activities on how we can accommodate these diverse children in our classroom. So let's begin. So how does diversity usually um exhibit in the classroom? So we can see the different kinds of um, things that children may possess, such as race, ethnicity, language, religion, economics. And if you're teaching an older set of children, you might be able to start seeing their sexual orientation as well, and they may start showing their more of their gender identity already. So how is knowing this important and knowing how to handle your classroom? So why are teachers supposed to be aware um regarding how diverse their children are? um Actually, diversity in the classroom um and letting children know about how diverse everyone is helps them develop social awareness, which helps them appreciate different perspectives. So if they're able to somewhat have a concept of how different and how same they are with different people around them, they will be able to have this critical thinking of how to interact with the different kinds of people. Furthermore, when you don't prioritize diversity, students who tend to be a little bit different from the usual norm won't feel as included, and therefore they are less likely to participate in class. So whether it's intentional or unintentional, students will have this kind of reaction to a class where they don't feel accommodated, or where they feel, well, in simple terms, where they feel bored. So if children are starting to feel bored, that means their way of thinking is not being accommodated in the classroom. Imagine if you are in a class, like for example, right now, if you are a somewhat tactile person, this class might not be as um interactive for you, because you will not be doing any tactile activities right now. We'll only be having visual, we'll only be having auditory, we'll only be having linguistic cues. So it won't be as useful, or it won't stick to you the way it would with a child or a person that has a different way of understanding or participating in things. And that is where multiple intelligences come from. But first, how do we um how do we include um our diverse children? How do we include our diverse children in the classroom? Is for us to reevaluate our lesson plans every semester. So that means when you already notice a certain trend happening inside the classroom, you may want to start revising how the curriculum would happen already for the next semester, or for the next term or quarter, or however you divide your school year into parts. The next is to connect with parents and guardians. So if you're having quite a rocky start with a child, you may want to start talking with their parents. I mean, not really to tell them that something is wrong with an educator's approach to a parent. It is also should be proactive because some parents might not be as open to listen with teachers' feedback if it does start with a negative note. So what I like to use when connecting with my parents or with my children's parents, my students' parents, is to use the sandwich method. So sandwich method means you start with a positive um affirmation. You say what needs guidance, what behavior or what aspect of the academical note the child needs, and then you end it with a positive note. So for example, a child is having a hard time sitting down in class. So this is for kindergarten. A child, you notice that a child, when you're doing formal lessons, the child is not sitting down. So the child is standing up, turning around, walking around the room, but the child is still able to answer your follow-up questions. So the child is just simply not a child who sits down. Have you ever encountered a child like that? A child who would not sit down, but when you ask them a question, they are able to answer. So sometimes not um this is a red flag for other schools. But for other schools, like more progressive ones that are not really in the traditional side, they do let children self-soothe even without them conforming into the norm. So it really depends on your school. So for example, this is not the norm in your school. The rule in your center or in your school is to have children sitting down and listening to the teacher, but this one specific child is not. So this is the way you should or this is an example of how you may want to approach the parents. So hi mommy, I'm glad to let you know that um your son or your daughter is actually very participative in class. Um does he usually talk to you about the things that happen in school? So you of course ask them how the child is at home. So it's getting the parent to give their feedback. So letting them be more at ease with you. So after they've shared some, so maybe they will say, oh, my child likes to talk a lot. Um at home he's quite hyperactive, he likes to move a lot, and then there you can insert, actually, in school also, mommy, he likes to move a lot, even in discussions. We noticed that he likes twirling around or on his seat, he would be squiggling on his chair. But here comes the positive ending. But when we do ask him at the end of the day what the discussion is about, he is able to recall what we were talking about in the discussion. But we just like to let you know that he is twirling around or is not able to um sit down as calmly as his friends. Yeah, as much as possible we try to avoid um statements that include negative connotations. So instead of saying he cannot pay attention, you may want to say he takes on an observer role. Or if a child is too excited, like he wants to talk already, like when you're asking a question, he doesn't wait for his turn. You can tell the mom, instead of he can't wait for his turn, you can say he is overly excited, or he shows his excitement by saying the answer as soon as hearing the question. So that's already, letting the parent also think, and they might also know their child, and if they see that this behavior is also a recurring thing at school, they might want to think about how their child is actually participating in school. So the way you ease the problem, or the yeah, the problem with the parent is also a way. So sandwich method is the best way, in my experience. Um, the next one is to include children in your curriculum planning. So just as what I mentioned a while ago, when you're curriculum planning and you see that something is not working for your classroom, you may want to reevaluate. For example, if you are teaching, I mean, in the way that you are teaching new vocabulary. So this is for older children, maybe for the ones in primary school. If you are teaching it in a way that is just, like listing it on the board or having them rote memorize it on the spot, or like giving them homeworks, for example, and it still doesn't work, well, maybe there is a different way to include this spelling or new vocabulary in your curriculum. Maybe you can do other activities that include certain ways that other children openly accommodate. So later I will show you some examples of this also. Furthermore, if you are really having a hard time including everyone when you are already reflecting, reevaluating, writing down your observations, and when you see the conclusion of it all, you furthermore conclude that you cannot do it by yourself, then you may also might want to try collaborating with school staff, like their previous teachers, or maybe the other teachers in the other subjects, or maybe getting in touch with your management. Um, I do understand that sometimes the management sometimes might not have an educational background. So using also the sandwich method actually helps them understand it more and have a positive look at the beginning and a positive note at the end. So it's nice to be proactive and being inclusive, and when you're speaking up while facing inequality in your school. So given that, aside from the usual ways that diversity shows up, I would like to introduce you the theory of multiple intelligences. So I did let you know that not all children learn the same way, and it's not just because of the different races. It's not just because of the different cultures, different economic backgrounds. Sometimes the way their brains are wired are also different. So, for example, multiple intelligences include these eight disciplinary strands. So there are children who learn best by doing bodily kinesthetic language. So that it's this one. Bodily kinesthetic means where they're moving. So a children that is bodily kinesthetically smart will express their ideas and feelings with the use of their whole body. So this might be more prominent in negative actions, maybe such as pushing or maybe biting. So these children aren't um well, in simple terms, they are, it's not that they're not smart, it's just they're showing their intelligence in a different manner. So children who excel in sports, so this is the more positive note, are good at creating things with their hands, and this can define their processing type of intelligence. Um, Interpersonal intelligence relates to the ability to perceive moods and feelings and the needs of other people. So this is a child who is able to um, work in a group. So if your child is able to set rules, make up their own games, be the leader in their structured play, then your child um might be having an interpersonal intelligence. So, and the other way is intrapersonal, which is knowing oneself. So if a child has a heightened self-awareness and they know how to use that knowledge in daily life, um children can be more realistic. So intrapersonal smart children are children who are self-aware. So these are children that are able to label their emotions. So I know emotions is also a topic that can be quite difficult for children to understand in the beginning. And if we do talk them out and process them through their emotions instead of telling them you cannot cry right now, it's bothering everyone. Or why are you angry? You're the one who's wrong. Or you cannot be happy right now. You only got second place. Somebody else won. All these negative reactions to a child's emotions greatly impact the way they understand their own emotions as well. So if you want a child who is who has a heightened self-awareness, um, yeah, you might want to try honing their intrapersonal intelligence. Linguistic intelligence predominantly uses words as self expression. Um, be it verbal or written. So these are the usual academically inclined children. So children who like to read, children who um are often great storytellers, children who have great memory, processing information that happened yesterday and they're able to completely sequence it out today. They're probably linguistic verbal smart, and children who are logical, mathematically smart, these are children um who are able to show their reasoning skills in understanding quantities and qualities and are able to use them effectively around the world. So this is not just closed up in mathematics, but also children who have a great sense of strategy, like when playing chess or sports. Yeah, these are logical, mathematically smart children. Music intelligence is from remembering songs, easily being able to move to the rhythm. These are musically intelligent people. Naturalists children or children who are more likely to excel in well things that are natural like in nature. So a child who might be able to classify plants and animals, understanding phenomena such as even as simple as rain or like rainbows, mild dew, children who are able to understand these little things that they see around the world. These are naturalistic children. And lastly, spatial intelligence is the way children perceive things visually. So if there's a child who likes to watch something and then they're able to like process it and ask questions related to the topic when they are looking and watching, maybe children who are usually on their iPads, children who likes watching television or maybe playing in the computer. These are children that are visually, spatially intelligent. So they're able to understand things that they can see and they can absorb information and express themselves through illustrations as well. So now that you know these kinds of different um intelligences, let me show you a lesson plan, a week's lesson plan of how to include all of these multiple intelligences in just 1 week. So let me show you a sample. There you go. So you might want to take a quick look. I'll only be zooming in on 3 of these days. So as you can see, I've included, well, actually, this is somewhat a copy of my lesson plan this week. So these are what we actually do in a kindergarten setting for 3 to 4 years old here in Singapore. So for literacy, I mean, for 1 whole week, we have literacy, we have numeracy, we have inquiry, that's sciences, social sciences, we have music and movement, and then we have gourmet, so that's cooking and life skills. So for Monday, we have consonant names and sounds. For Tuesday, we have measuring length. For Wednesday, we have learning about insects. Thursday is about rhythm, classical music. And Friday is for cooking. So that's prata making. So let's zoom in into these lessons. Okay, let's see. There. So for Monday, we have literacy, right? So for letters and reviewing letters, words, I did tell you a while ago that it's not just visually that we can engage the children. So is this has a wide age bracket. So I think even children in primary school will be able to enjoy these kinds of activities as long as you level it up a notch. So for Monday, your objectives could be memory and recalling. Like how much have my children memorized? Or like how much can they remember through the 10 weeks that we were doing letter recalling? Clarity in speech is also something you'd like to check for when you're learning consonant names and sounds. It has to be very clear because some letters have a similar mouth shape such as B and P and M and D and G and J. You see how they all somewhat sound, well, not really sound, but they have similar mouth positions, and only a tweak of the tongue will change the sound, such as K and G, the sound, the hard G, G, and there's also Kwa and Wa. You see, there are different tweaks, so it's important you test clarity in speech, and also when you are doing letters, you can also squeeze in some handwriting practices. So for kinesthetic children, we can put butt air writing. Have you ever tried this? It's where this is the illustration. This it's when you let them write the shape of the letter using their butt. So it's kind of a funny activity where everyone will be giggling, but also it keeps the interest of people who are visual. They get to see, and you can also even get the audience to guess what shape the it is doing. So you have the kinesthetic people doing the shapes with their buttocks or maybe with their elbows or maybe with their nose. You can be as creative as you want. And then we can also have soft and dramatic play. So these are for children who are more musical. So you can pretend, okay, students, today you will become a TV reporter and your other friend will have the remote and then the friend can try pretending, okay, louder, louder. Oh no, it's too loud. Make it soft, make it soft. So these are for interpersonal children as well. Um, for children who are naturalists, you may want to include sensory tactile material for them, such as sand, beans, writing on sand. This is actually a Montessori activity. As you can see here, this is a letter card with the lowercase on it, and the child will be tasked to recreate the shape on the sand. So this is for children who are kinesthetic, so they can practice their tactile. Children who are logically smart, so that they can practice their critical thinking. Like if I write it too fast, will the sand get out of the box? If I write it too slow or too softly, will it even indent on the pile of rice or pile of beans? And then you can never go wrong with formal writing practice where you can actually check if they are ready for mark making and writing on paper, because that's also a different challenge for children making marks on paper. Another day we can zoom on in is Wednesday. So Wednesday, this is what we did actually yesterday. So yesterday I did introduce um this caterpillar. So this specific caterpillar is a spice bush swallowtail caterpillar. So you can have your own whatever is natural to where you are. Or you can even include like endemic insects or maybe animals. So maybe if this is yours, you can include your objectives again, and then your activity roster can include a variety of activities such as air clay caterpillars, You can have an excursion or a field trip to the butterfly garden where they can actually see and start, absorbing all of these knowledges. This is for naturalistic children, for visual spatial children. Sequencing life cycle is for logically smart children, linguistically verbal. You can see there's shadow play here as well. So yeah. So, how do you identify multiple intelligences in children? So, of course, the way that they um engage in your class is also a telltale sign of how they respond to the different multiple intelligences. Now, a child will not possess only one kind of intelligence. A child may have a majority of one, but may have quantities of the others. So that's why when you're preparing a lesson plan for the whole week, you might want to you might want to consider the different intelligences and putting them in one um big lesson, and the other intelligences can be chopped up into zones. So for example, in your literacy zone, there you can put the sequencing of the life cycle. Maybe in the writing zone where they're practicing their fine motor skills, there you can put the air dry clay. In their art and craft zone, you can put their shadow play where they can play with light and cellophane. They can see how the different colors shine through the different colored plastics. You see, it doesn't have to be a whole group lesson all the time. Sometimes, for you to be able to accommodate all of these multiple intelligences, you really have to chop it up into different learning zones and try to expose children in groups. So maybe you have 20 children with you. 5 will be with you doing the most complicated tasks. So maybe for your set of children, the most complicated task would be air dry clay caterpillars, because there's always a risk. I mean, for you, you think there's a risk of children eating the clay. Like you cannot leave them unsupervised that. Then 5 will do air dry caterpillars, 5 will do dramatic clay, 5 will do sequencing a life cycle, and another 5 will do shadow play. And all these will swap every 10 minutes. So you'll also be able to let everyone experience all of the activities that you're able to prepare for that day. And also, you're able to control the time that they spend in a zone. That it's just enough time for them to explore the actual objectives and targets of the activities without letting them stray to different free play activities already. So you know how children, when you give them an instruction, if you leave them be in 15 minutes, do you think they will be repeatedly doing the same thing? Of course, they would be sneaking in some different topics already. So for you to be able to manage that, especially if you are alone in your classroom and you don't have any teacher support, you don't have any assistant teachers, you don't have a partner teacher, for you to be able to monitor children, you should have placed classroom management such as swapping, times up, or maybe stamping on their ID, activity IDs, or maybe children collecting tokens when they're finished with their activity, and just letting them take turns with each of the activities. Now, these activities that you put in learning zones that cater to the different multiple intelligence don't have to stay there for only one day. You can actually intertwine the different lessons that you have in a week or even in 2 week span. So all the activities you do are not for not. They're not just for one day, not just photo taking, for those who need to take photos for their portfolio, it's really a meaningful journey of a few days time. So the children get to really indulge themselves, and you also get to see their reactions, their more authentic reactions and voices to the different activities that you have planned. Moving forward, now let's talk about rainbow children. Have you ever heard of the term rainbow children? Can I see a heart for those who have seen or have heard of what a rainbow child is? Come on, let's have some participation. Let's see, a heart for everyone there. If you have heard of what a rainbow child is, can I see a heart or maybe through the reaction button? Have you ever heard of children who are a bit special in your classroom? Children who, even if they have a different sense of learning, they seem to, not be able to get along. These are not troublemakers. These are not children who intend to disrupt. But somehow, since they exhibit some sort of delay, they are a bit disruptive. So let me just brief you about what I'm going to discuss a little bit more. So rainbow children are actually children with special needs, while the most common one as of now um, are people with autistic syndrome disorder. So people with autism often have problems with communication, social interaction. They have restricted or repetitive behavior. They might also have different ways of learning, moving, paying attention. Now, if you have tried all of these, all of the, I mean, if you have tried engaging the child with the different things, such as the ones that I have previously showed you just now, and it still doesn't seem to work, or maybe the child has started to show hyperfixation on a certain topic, or maybe is playing with only one type of toy, or maybe only wants to listen to one kind of song. Well, these are flags for you to know your child better and to see if it's already time for you to let your parents know, your child's parents know, that this is something occurring in the classroom. And yet again, I'm going to remind y'all that when you are going to um, start this conversation with your students' parents, you may want to use the sandwich method where you are trying to ease them at the beginning by starting with a positive note, state the behavior that is a little bit of a red flag, and then end it with a positive note. And to always use words or avoid words that have a negative connotation, such as disruptive or is not able to. Yeah, your statements should always be a positive connotation. Yeah, so yeah, a child with special needs um, might have one or more of the following difficulties. So again, this is a different, a whole different bubble to children who have multiple intelligences. So when you've already tried different ways to try engaging a child, but are still having quite a time trying to sustain their attention, then maybe you'll try to see this checklist. So this is not only for children with ASD. This can be for other children as well who are undiagnosed and who have parents that are still in denial and are not really as open because they feel like the if their child gets diagnosed, it will be, I mean, there's a negative connotation to it, but there's not. This is just a different kind of child with a different way of thinking. So if a child has social communication and interaction that can be a bit troublesome, like he's not responding to others in an expected way. Like, for example, if a child is sitting down and someone says a loud hello, hello there, and then he's a bit disrupted and starts crying, that's unexpected. Or maybe if a child is celebrating um her friend's birthday and then suddenly she will cry and say, I want my birthday to come too, and then will be uncontrollably sobbing because her is possibly like tomorrow or a month later, and she will cry because I want it to be my birthday. So it's not just a random tantrum actually, but it's actually um, a meaningful one that is repetitive and disruptive. So if it's repetitive and disruptive when they're trying to communicate their needs, then it might be a red flag. Second, repetitive behaviors or restricted interests will is usually also a red flag. So children who have repetitive body movements, just flapping the hands or continuously spinning around, like if they're in focus mode, just like what I shared initially in the meeting. If a child is during the lesson, he's twirling, spinning on his seat, standing up and spinning around. That's a repetitive behavior that you might want to take note of. Maybe you'd like to um, annotate it in a notebook or have a journal. Just have a quick bullet point like 10 a.m. lesson time. He's spinning for 15 minutes straight. Yeah, only as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a whole diary about the child because I do understand as educators we're already overstimulated and we have so much paperwork. But when you do take the time to just write even one sentence, what happened, the duration, the action, you'll see or you'll start to see the pattern. Furthermore, when you annotate or journal these behaviors, it is easier to show evidence to the parent or evidence to the management if you try to bring it up. I mean, usually in our classrooms there would be CCTVs. I mean, if your classroom has CCTV, um, journaling or noting down the time and how long will be very useful when looking for different proofs to show to parents who might be very stern in denial. So other unusually interests would be just playing with blocks and lining it up like a train. There would be children who would do the same exact sculpture every single day. I mean, I've had experiences of a child um doing this kind of behavior, and at the beginning of the school year I thought, oh, it's so cute, he really knows how to make a straight line. But then after 3 months of him doing the same exact line, I thought it might be a good thing to share with the parent. Yeah, so these are unusually intense interests that you might want to take note of. There are also unusual sensitivity to sensory inputs. So such as how things should look like, how things should taste, how things should feel. Like for example, even as simple as the temperature in your room. Sometimes your room might be a little bit hot, and if your student hasn't been to your class in a while and suddenly they barge inside and feel it's kind of hot, they will complain and start crying. And you as an educator, you should try to know how to distinguish a tantrum that is normal and within the bounds of logic, and a tantrum that is a little bit too much and a little bit worrisome, that it's elongated for quite a while. Quite a while could be 15 minutes or more. Yeah, a child. I feel like a child who cannot self-soothe um, beyond 15 minutes is a dysregulated child, and a child who would be crying for more than 7 times, 5 to 7 times a day is a red flag already. Another one is delays in social or language developmental milestones. So these milestones are dependent on the age bracket that your child belongs to or your student belongs to. So, for example, this is an 18 months old. At this age, you expect a child to look when called upon with their name. So if a child is not responding to his or her name when you call them, that is already a flag for you. When a child doesn't look at whatever a caregiver or a teacher is showing, for example, you are showing a book and the child is not not focused on the book. I mean, they could be doing something else, but regular child would be looking from time to time in the book, maybe even doing their eyebrows for children who are younger, 24 months, or for older ones who are 4 or 5 or 6. They may start asking questions or even unusual questions related to the story. But if a child, when you are doing something interactive and they're not looking, that's also a flag to take note of. Another is not smiling, um, or not pointing, or no gestures such as clapping, nodding, shaking head, not using meaningful words, or even loss of language or social skills at any age. It might be a telltale sign that your child has developed or has already started blooming with ASD. So if you do have concerns about your child's communication, if you can see already some signs, um, and your student is actively exhibiting any of these flags, yeah, you should inform their parents using the sandwich method. So let's try to um dive in deeper with this mindset. So aside from diverse children, you also have children with special needs. Let's go into my Friday lesson. So for this kind of lesson, it's very tactile, it's very interactive. Children have real life experiences in the concepts that they actually learned within the week or for the past month. Um, for cooking classes, you could put um, you could even put something that is not natural or not usual in your area. So, for example, in my area, prata is not really usual. We have a lot of Chinese students over here, and they don't usually eat this kind of food. So, we introduce new flavors, new textures. We let them apply their knowledge of measurement, but instead of height, we do volume and cooking. We try to show them before and after consequences. Yeah, so for this one, it can be really interactive even for those children with special needs, because a lot of the different multiple intelligences get tapped on. So you can include them when you're shopping for ingredients. So this includes, even if it's just an online shopping, like a pretend online shopping experience, or maybe you can actually go and see, like you can show them the numbers, you can ask for parents to come, and for also parents to see what is happening inside your classroom. You can let them engage in activities such as shopping with the children. You can cook simple gourmet sciences such as mixing, measuring in the cup, looking at the different numbers. You have taste testing. Also, for children with special needs, they are able to explore the different new textures. And if they spit it out, then it's okay. At least they've tried it. That's what I always say. If you don't like it, spit it out. You can try it another day. The tastes will change every day. Your taste bud today, after you clean it with a brush, after you brush your teeth at night, tomorrow it will wake up a new taste bud and you can try again. Yeah, that's what I say to my children. And we can even insert some cultural appreciation for older children, for the primary school ones. You can start um that doing storytelling, showing them where this kind of food is made, why their food is like this, what other types of food are like this, what do they pair with prata and other types of food. Yeah, so you can make it a really interactive, multiple intelligence space that also caters to children with special needs. But if you still are in need of help when doing lessons with a very diverse group of children. Um, you may want to do these things. So as I mentioned a while ago, you can do anecdotal records. This is for you and for when you're reflecting on the past 3 months. Because sometimes when it happens, and you don't write it, you don't really see the pattern until it's been happening for a very long time, like 6 months already. And then if you take that long to notice a child that is, behaving a certain manner, the parent would also start to question why only now? My child has been with you for a couple of months, and some parents might question the credibility of your concern. So you might want to do anecdotal records for yourself just in the beginning, when you're just getting to know your children, just to see their patterns, what they like, what kind of multiple intelligence activity they respond best to, and that's where you can see the pattern of a rainbow child. Also, when you do spot a rainbow child, you can start giving them regular feedback. So, for example, in my experience, I've had a rainbow child in my classroom. So, this is all the other children can already write, can already answer questions, are already participating in craft making and using their own thoughts and ideas in creating a craft that is especially their own. It has their identity. But this specific student hasn't achieved that milestone yet. And yet, he's the oldest one in the group. So that was very concerning for me as an educator, as it seemed that he was a bit delayed. So if I were to talk to you, for example, you are the parent, I would say, hello, mommy, this is our activity today. We did a writing activity in our workbook, and the children had the chance to replicate a word that they saw on the board using letter magnets, but your child smiled at me and only um, pointed to the letters. And then I did ask him, where is the letter S? Where is the letter I? Where is the letter P? He was able to point to the letters, but when I asked about the sound, he only smiled. It seems he's a bit shy at school. Would you mind trying reviewing these sounds with him at home? And let's see if tomorrow you can get back to me and let me know, because I'm really excited to hear his voice. Yeah, something like that. You see, it has an enthusiastic and positive approach to the developmental delay that you are seeing in the classroom. So it's not really something that will make the parents panic, but it starts them thinking also. It starts them questioning, like, hmm, if everyone is doing this kind of activity. My child should be able to say it with me at home. I mean, knowing that my child is more comfortable with me, he should be able to say it to me at home. And then if he's not, then you follow up the next day. Hey, mommy, were you able to review the letters with him yesterday when you came home? So how was it? Was he able to say the letters? And if he's not able, oh, we'll help him review it again today, and let's see what kind of other activities we can do with him. I'll give you a couple of tasks that you can do, and as an educator, you do list tasks for him and for him and his guardians to do at home. So aside from that, if it's been a couple of months that you've been doing parent feedback, regular parent feedback with no avail, and they're still, they're still passive about it. They're just saying, "Oh, we're just glad that he's enjoying school. We're just glad that he likes going inside. He's not crying anymore. He's already doing his own toileting. Maybe they're proud of little moments like this, which are just really big for some children. But if it really is a big delay in their developmental milestone, you might want to connect with your supervisor, maybe your center principal or your senior teacher, on how to create a learning improvement plan, or however you call it in your school, and actually set a meeting with your parents. And this is where you're able to use your records, you're able to um you're able to let them recall, like, do you remember that other month I asked you about this and that, and then you told us, you reported back to us the next day he was not able to. Yeah, so these are the things that we're going to be talking with you today. And then there you can segue saying that you have an improvement plan, so you already have a plan. And if this is not just a case of a delay, you may want to try directing them to healthcare. So that's the end of my presentation. So just to end it, I want to tell y'all that great teachers transform lives by applying all the different knowledge, all the different perspectives, all the different experiences that we have with each other. We can transform this generation's lives. So I will be taking on a couple of questions if you do have, because we still have 4 more minutes. So if you do have some questions with me, we can. But if there are no questions within the minute, I'm so glad to reshare with you the rest of my lesson plan so you can dive into it more. Can I see raising hands if you do have a question? Let's see. We only have 3 minutes through the meeting, so if you'd like to ask a question, you can type it in the box, or you can raise your hand and you can unmute and converse with each other as educators in different parts of the world. Yeah. Okay, while we're waiting for people, if you do have questions, let's go back to my lesson plan, because we only did Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So how about Tuesday? So we have here, we have numeracy. So I did mention that we did length. So if your objectives are rote counting to 30, number recognition to 30, understanding of concepts, long and short, estimation, your activities could be for interpersonal children. You can include how tall are my friends. Then you group them into 4 or into 3s, and then let them record in their mini whiteboards so they're able to interact with their friends. Or maybe if your children are logical tactile or visual spatial, you can let them make Lego buildings and have them measure their friends. So make a building in 2 minutes, and once 2 minutes are up, we're going to swap and you're going to measure your friend's building. And then you can see them, you can observe them counting one by one, how they're measuring it. Is it a form of estimation? Are they going to say his building is 5 hand prints long? His building is as tall as my shoulder. His building is, well, maybe a formal measurement has been introduced. His building is 56 centimeters long. Could be like that. So you can also see how they perceive measurement. And also you can, for the children who are um linguistic verbal, you can include word building. So which word is longer? So you can see if they're able to distinguish long words from very short words, or more or less estimation. Yeah, so those are some of the activities for numeracy that you can include for your students. Oh, okay. So there is a question here in my direct message. It's to repeat activities needed to help rainbow children. All right, let me forward to that slide over here. This one. When you're getting help for rainbow children, is it? It's to use anecdotal records. It's to provide frequent or regular feedback to the parents. It's to construct a learning improvement plan for your child with the parents. So this is a meeting. And if a learning improvement plan still does not work, you can then direct them to healthcare. Then you can be frank already, because by this time, if you already did this, you already did this, you already tried an improvement plan, it should have been more or less a year or so, and that is a consistent delay for children. So you should be directing them to healthcare already. All right. So I hope you got the screenshot of this page, and anyway, I believe this will be sent to you.